Happy Friday, Tigers! Well, it's Friday today, the day that I'm recording this. Sorry if it's not Friday on the day you're watching this, but I hope it's soon. I am here today to do the quick Air Force video on strengthening resilient relationships. I know that sounds probably like it's a big, huge thing, and it's probably really hard and complex, and it probably is. But today, for the quick Air Force video, we're going to focus on one small aspect of that I think is relatively easy once you have the awareness of the things we're going to talk about. Once you have the awareness of each aspect of how you react to certain people, you're going to be able to start thinking about that and be more effective in your reactions to people and your relationships. And this is something that you can use not only, obviously, for our purposes here. We're talking probably about people in the workplace. If you're a supervisor, especially if you're a brand new supervisor or an old supervisor that might be rusty or not have been aware of these things before. If you're a supervisor, you can apply these things, but these things you can use in your everyday relationships with your kids, with your spouse, with your friends, to have more meaningful and stronger connections with everyone, not just at work. But for the purposes here, we're talking, of course, about our airmen and the people that we interact with every day. So the part that I'm going to hone in on today, that we're really going to focus on, even though this all, leadership, management, building connections, strong relationships, this is an entire area of study, like a PhD level. People are studying these things. So there's all sorts of studies, theories, approaches, methodologies, but we're not going to worry about that today. What we're going to talk about is ACR, which stands for Active Constructive Responding. So this is just plain and simple how you react when someone tells you something, when someone brings something to you. It's really fascinating. If you want to know more, please go Google Dr. Karen Ravich. Don't know if I'm saying that right, but Reivich. She's a professor at UPenn. She teaches the Positive Psychology Resilient Skills class, which you can find on Coursera. And she actually developed the MRT, the Master Resilience Training Program that the Army uses. I think it might be the same one that the Air Force uses, but I'm not sure. For sure, look into this. If this is at all interesting to you, please go look her up and go through that course on Coursera, because that's really what I'm pulling this from. But the small part is ACR, so Active Constructive Responding. So the theory is a lot of times we put stock in value in a relationship or deciding if it's a strong relationship or not. We judge that by, will someone come to you when something is going bad? When something's wrong, will they come to you? And this kind of flips it on its head, and they ask, will someone come to you when things go right? When things are going great in their life, will they come to you? And that is really when we're analyzing these four types of ways that people can respond. I'm going to try to share my screen in a minute, so bear with me, because it didn't work out great during my tests. So there are typically four ways that people respond when someone comes with great news, with something that is joyful to them, that they want to share with someone. There's four different ways that you can respond. The issue is that only one of them over time strengthens a relationship. The other three ways that we respond to people when they come with happy or joyful news eventually over time erode that relationship. I'm not going to go in during this forum about why relationships are important or the importance of connection. That's an entirely different TED Talk, and we don't have time for it. But I trust that you guys know that connection and relationships are important, and we'll just leave it at that. So what we don't want to do is be eroding them and losing trust in people. So all three other ways that we respond do that. Maybe not in one setting, not today, not tomorrow, but over time, if you typically react in one of those three ways consistently, you are eroding that relationship with that person. And only one of those ways builds that strength and trust in the relationship. So let's talk about, again, this is called ACR, is kind of the model. So if you want to search ACR, Active active constructive responding, you can do that as well, and there's plenty of information on it. So let us see. I'm going to try to share. Again, it's kind of a mess. Apologies. Let's see. Okay. So these are the 4 types of responses. Don't get, too wrapped up on this chart, but it is pretty handy. Dr. Rivik, again with UPenn, she actually assigned little nicknames to each of these to make them clearer, just easier to understand, instead of having to keep track of the different the different names and like cross-referencing and charts and whatever. So we're not going to go exactly in the order that they have here, but I think this is a good visual. Okay. The first one that we're going to talk about is passive constructive. So I'm just going to briefly go over what each of them mean, and then we're going to talk about why do we do them, how do we not, all of that. So passive constructive. So let's see. Passive constructive is up here. Happy for. So you're happy for someone about their news, but you're low energy, you have a delayed response, and you're quiet. So you're really not putting a lot into it. You might be happy for them, but you're not really showing that. This is just like the, yeah, oh, cool. Do while you're doing your own thing, not really paying them a whole lot of attention. And then we have the passive deconstructive. Y'all, I'm sorry if you can hear that noise. I told everyone to make sure they had a quiet environment before they did these videos. And then I realized that I do not have a quiet, safe space in my house because I don't have air conditioning and I cannot close my windows. So I am so sorry. My deepest apologies. He has been doing that all day long. Hopefully you can't hear it. So this is just a useless sidebar. Okay, so we went over passive constructive. And then we're going to passive deconstructive. So down here in this lower right-hand box. So you're unhappy for, oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. Let me go back. I did not tell you what the little nicknames were. I want to do that because those are super helpful to me. So, because these sound very negative to me. Passive constructive is known as the conversation killer. Just like we said, they're not offering much to the conversation. They're not asking questions. They're not saying how happy they are. They're just like, okay, cool, right? Period. There's nothing else to that. So it kind of, the conversation falls flat. The end. There's nothing more where that conversation can go. So the conversation killer. Then we have passive deconstructive. So that is termed the conversation hijacker. So this is when they steal the conversation. Maybe it's just because they're swept away in happiness or excitement. They've shared something similar to what this person is going through. And they're like, they just can't wait to show, yeah, I've felt that before. Let me tell you about it. But what that really does is, like this says here on the chart, it ignores the speaker and it turns the focus inward. So you're no longer taking joy in their joy. Even if it's something you're excited about and you must show that excitement, you're taking that joy and then making it your own joy, and that's what you're really processing. Then next we have active deconstructive, unhappy with. So this is what Dr. Rivik calls a joy thief. And maybe a lot of us in this career field as Intel and analysts, maybe we see this a lot in ourselves. I don't know. Because we tend to be high on judgment and critical thinking. We are bred to do analysis. So you're unhappy with. So as it says here, you squash the event. You're dismissive or demeaning. Maybe to you, this is just you're being realistic and you're raising alarm. I don't think any of these come from a place of being malicious or purposeful, like deceit. It's just the way that our brain thinks, right? So if someone says, I want to run a marathon, and you know that they are not in shape for a marathon, you know how long it takes for a marathon training plan, instead of saying, I'm so excited for you, how are you doing, et cetera, you would say, I don't know if you have enough time to train for a marathon, you're probably going to get hurt, blah, blah, blah. That sounds really negative. And it does squash the event, like it says. It might be coming from a place of goodness. You're just concerned about them and you don't want them to get hurt. But but that still is active deconstructive. That's still a joy thief, right? In the moment. Again, all of those three, whether it's with good intentions or not, those things, after time, as someone comes to you again and again, bringing you something that they're excited about, genuinely want to share with you, after you squash it in one way or the other, whether it's because you're too quiet, too focused on yourself, or too focused on all of the things that could go wrong, they're going to stop coming to you with anything, and then that will erode the relationship over time. So the one way that you can react to people when they bring you good news that strengthens the relationship is active constructive. It's active constructive responding, which Dr. Rivik calls a joy multiplier. This is when you have a genuine interest and you're looking to amplify their experience, and you're able to do that genuinely. Just like this says, you're happy with. So you're enthusiastic, you have the eye contact, you're authentic, you really want to help them enjoy it, and you're truly savoring the moment with them. So whereas the others, they walk away not feeling like they shared something with you, they not only have that joy, but they're sharing it with you. And that is the one that will strengthen the relationship over time. So looking at it here, that looks easy, right? But are there any of these that you might identify with? Are there things that you can clearly see that you're like, oh, yeah, that's definitely me? I'm going to stop sharing my screen, because I think while that's a good reference, I think, again, those things it makes it look super negative, I guess. And it's not always that way, right? So, for instance, if we're talking, hang on, let me refer to my sheet, to the conversation killer, right? The one that doesn't offer anything back to the conversation. It's not that they don't care, and it's not that they don't want to be genuine, but what if it's a super busy day, they're checking, you've seen the people, and you might have been that person too, right? I'm over here, I am on my computer, and I'm checking my email, and I have tasks to do, and someone comes up, and they want to share something amazing that they have experienced, or something great over the weekend. They want to come up and share that, and I really just don't have the time. I cannot. I have my stuff to do. I have a meeting in 2 minutes, and I don't turn and share that with them. Oh, cool, awesome, yeah. How many times has that happened to you? I know it's happened to me, and I know I've also done it multiple times. That's not to say that you're a bad person, that you mean harm, and that you're wantingly ignoring someone and their good moments. That's just, you're busy. So, but those are the things that you should be aware of. Hey, I have a tendency to do this thing. If I am always too busy and I am always only on my computer, is there a way for me to not do that? Maybe there are times that I still need to do that if necessary, but when can I take my ID card out, lock the screen, turn towards the person, and really engage with them about something good going on with their life? How often can I do that? And can I? That's something that you have to think about. But next time it happens, hopefully that will be a realization. You're like, I know I do. Since I had this training, I do that. I'm like, oh, I'm doing it again. Let me just take the break. Even if it's a 5-minute break and I have to say, hey, sorry, I got to get back to work after we had that conversation. That's something to at least consider. Are you able to do it? Or how else are you able to do it? Same thing with conversation hijacker, which I also am. I just get so excited, y'all. I get so excited. Again, with the marathon example, if someone comes up to me and they're like, hey, I know that you're a runner. I just signed up for the Honolulu Marathon. I'm super excited. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited because I'm a runner. Now you're a runner. We're all excited. So that tends to sweep me away. And before you know it, I could be like, oh, I signed up for that last year. It was amazing. I ran with so-and-so. We had a great time. This is what we did. This is how we did. This is our finishing score, blah, 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 blah. I. And before you know it, even though it comes from such a good place, because I'm genuinely excited, I took that conversation. It's no longer their joy, and now it's my joy. I'm not I'm not experiencing their joy. That's true empathy, right? I'm not experiencing their emotions. I'm just excited for me that we share that. What else? What was the last one? The bad one. Oh, the joy thief. That's probably, I don't know for sure, but I'm just going out on a limb here saying a lot of us probably have that tendency as well. I don't as much, but being in the field that we're in, that's probably a popular one that is bred into us to think critically and to think of all of the realistic bad things or things that require attention. And it could be that we're looking out for them. We don't want them to get hurt, injured, whatever. We're truly looking out for them. But at the same time, you just keep in mind when you're doing that, keep in mind, hey, is there a way that I could do this differently? And just being aware of how you are reacting and if you're not reacting in that active, constructive way. So I think that's the first step, right? Hey, do I identify with being a joy thief or a conversation hijacker or a conversation killer? Am I doing any of those things? Do I identify with one of them more than the others so I can see a trend, right? And if so, what's in your way? I'm too busy. I'm tired. I have my own stuff to think about or deal with. I am a critical thinker, XYZ. Think of those things. Not to say you're going to change them, not to say you're going to erase any of it, but being mindful of that can go a long way when you want to pivot and try to do that active, constructive, that joy multiplier role more often. I'm not going to lie to you, that's hard, but they say the first step is always in admitting the problem or whatever it is, right? You have to have awareness that you're doing it to be able to step back and think like, I'm doing it. Okay, let me try something different. So when you try something different, what are you going to do? How do you become a joy multiplier if that's not just in you already? Some people have that. They're just good at it, and I hate them. I mean, I love them, but they make it look so dang easy. I am not that. So the 3 things to think about, I think I already talked about the first one, is what's in your way. So what is in your way from being the joy multiplier? What are you doing that leads you down the other 3 so much easier than being a joy multiplier is the first thing. The second thing is nonverbals. So if you genuinely look disinterested, even if you're interested, that's something that you have to be aware of. So if you have RBF, or if you're constantly like this, or you, I don't know, always have like I can't even do a frown. Nope, cannot. How can you give nonverbals that show you're interested and you're being genuine? So eye contact is huge, right? Like we talked about, like physically turning away from your computer and having the one-on-one with that person. I know they teach that stuff in ALS. This is not new to you, I know, but think about it in this context, right? So your nonverbals. And then the last is follow-on questions, which I think is the most valuable probably. So instead of, if you were a joy thief, the one that's critical thinking, if you were a joy thief, your questions might be like, well, how are you going to do that with the time you have? Well, don't you think that whatever? Instead of those, your follow-on questions could be, if you wanted to pivot to be more of a joy multiplier, your questions could be first open-ended and focused on that person, focused on them and their experience. How is that for you? How are you feeling about that? I just signed up for the marathon. I'm super excited. How's training going? How is that for you? What are you most excited about? Things that let them explore more fully their excitement and their joy. That is where you're really feeling that empathy. You're feeling their emotions at the same time. They're exploring what makes them so happy about it, and you're getting to be a part of that. That's really valuable. Again, overall, that is the one. People will remember that, even in small interactions. People will remember that, and they will continue to go back to you, and that relationship will continue to be strengthened, unlike any of the others. I want to just make sure, again, like all of the others, it's none of them, I hope, are malicious. It's just that's the way that's in our brains how we react. So none of them are malicious. So none of them are like we're doing it on purpose out to get someone. So don't think badly of yourself if I know I'm a conversation hijacker. I already know that. And then second, I'm a conversation killer sometimes. But knowing that about yourself is important. And then I don't remember my second or third thing. That's important. The awareness piece, that is to me most important, because once you start to reflect on the things that you've done in the past, as it happens, you can start to realize and see that you're doing it, and you have the ability to kind of pivot as you're going, to really, that's what I was going to say, to really build out those relationships. So what I'm going to say is the second thing, besides the awareness piece, is these things aren't like dead stops, like, oh, they didn't look away from their screen that one time, so I'm no longer going to them, I no longer trust them. Of course, these things take time. If you have something going on or you react in a certain way once, that doesn't mean that conversation, that relationship is a goner. But it is over time, if you react in consistent ways, that will erode the relationship. So something to think about. Yeah. So really, again, there's so much for leadership, management, resilience, all of that weaving in and out together all the time. There's so much to think about and to apply. And I really hope that this, like thinking of those 4 ways that you react to people, that just kind of brings it down to a humanistic level. Like, we all do these things. It's very simplistic. I don't need to apply crazy concepts or ideas or really remember a bunch of acronyms or like theories. Just how am I reacting to people? Am I giving them, that's what it boils down to, right? Am I giving them genuine attention? And am I sharing their joy? And if you are, then you will have authentic and strong relationships in every aspect of your life, because you can apply this anywhere. And that's really, at the end of the day, again, now for here, it applies to supervisors in the Air Force, but that's not where it ends. You can apply this no matter what rank you are or where you're working in or out of the Air Force. I think I already talked to you. I already told you about Dr. Ravik. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I say it wrong. She won't know. Hopefully she'll never see this. But if you are interested in more, she has a great program that's free on on Coursera. She works at UPenn. It's on Coursera. This model is specifically in the Positive Psychology Resilience Skills course. Specifically, what I'm just talking about now, but very much longer-winded, is within that course, it's week 4, lesson 2. I highly recommend doing the whole course. It's not just about resilience in relationships, but within yourself. So it talks a lot about the mind traps and negative thinking, and how you can, again, the goal is to quickly be able to turn it a different way, not like have to study for years and hours and months for, different leadership management skills and all of these things, like things that you can quickly turn on and turn off in your brain. That's really what she focuses on. So the first part, again, is cognitive mind traps and how to overcome them. And then the second part is focuses on the relationships, the interpersonal skills. And so it talks about how to build relationships and strengthen them, like the ACR that we just talked about. Okay, that was long-winded still, and I'm sorry. If you ever want to talk to me about this type of stuff, this is my thing. It's hard to not talk too quickly and to talk in a short amount of time, because I love it. So hit me up if you're interested. I can get you all sorts of different resources, or just talk to each other about it. Highly encourage you to look into Dr. Ravik. Again, you can Google ACR, active constructive responding, or you can hit me up. I charge to you, encourage you for the next week when someone comes and they're like, whether it's a friend, a coworker, a supervisee, your spouse, if someone wants to share something amazing with them, really be cognizant of how you're reacting to them. What message are you sending them back? And is it that active, constructive responding? And if not, why? And can you do it different next time? All right. I hope you enjoyed my TED Talk. I hope you have a good Friday or any other day that it might be. And thank you guys. Aloha.